Coming up on Falcon Weekly.
After months of political back and forth, billions of dollars of government budget cuts go into effect this week. Find out how these cuts might affect you.
And see what people around the world are doing to comfort the children who survived the shooting massacre in Newtown, Connecticut.
Coming up, I'll take you behind the scenes of what's sure to become your favorite new podcast.
Welcome to Falcon Weekly. I'm Kyle Jones.
And I'm Madison Jones. Thanks for joining us. Republicans and Democrats are at odds over the national budget. If they can't reach an agreement, $85 billion of forced spending cuts will go into effect this Friday. Reporter Martha Shade shows us how these massive cuts will impact you.
A $51 million cut to food safety programs will trickle down to your kitchen table. With food inspectors at home and plants closed, you'll likely pay more for beef and chicken, and there may be less of it. Expect longer lines at airport security. Fewer workers will need more time to check passengers. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood said these cuts are tough but necessary.
We're going to look at everything we possibly can to get to where we need to be, which is about $600 million in cuts. But we can't do it without also furloughing people.
In his weekly address, President Obama gave a rundown of the possible cuts, asking congressional Republicans,
are they seriously prepared to inflict more pain on the middle class because they refuse to ask anything more of those at the very top?
But most Republicans, like Senator John McCain, call this a problem of leadership.
I won't put all the blame on the President of the United States, but the President leads. The President should be calling us over somewhere, Camp David, the White House, somewhere, and us sitting down and trying to avert these cuts.
I'm Martha Shade, reporting.
The $85 billion in budget cuts will impact every state in the country.
students are getting involved with politics to make sure our school receives state funding. Falcon Weekly's Sam Phillips joins us live with details about how you can get involved with Higher Ed Day.
Thanks, Kyle. Higher Ed Day is coming up this Thursday and giving students the chance to affect the school's funding. Students are excited for the annual event where hundreds of people gather to petition the Alabama government for more university funding.
We're trying to get a certain percentage of that budget allocated towards higher education. And we believe that by going to Higher Ed Day, this allows many voices to come together with one central message.
It's a great opportunity for students just to come to Higher Ed Day and meet their legislators, meet their governor, see other students that are passionate about higher education. I think it's a great outlet for them to voice their concerns, and in turn it lets the legislators know that we as a student body care about higher education and its funding.
Students going to Higher Ed Day will meet on Thursday morning at 7:30 in the new Res Overflow parking lot and arrive back in Montevallo between 2 and 3 p.m. The event is free for students and food will be provided. Students who want to participate in Higher Ed Day can sign up in Student Life or in the CAF. I'm Samuel Phillips reporting for Falcon Weekly.
If you're interested in Higher Ed Day, visit the Student Life office and sign up to support. Switching gears to world news, Pope Benedict XVI is preparing to retire this week. He gave his final public prayer Sunday to a crowd of thousands in Vatican City. Earlier this month, the Pope announced his resignation, which will take place February 28th. Begin his retirement at a vacation home before he withdraws to a monastery being built for him in Vatican City. Benedict will live a cloistered life of prayer. The Vatican is set to elect a new pope in time for the Church's Easter celebrations.
The Vatican is facing another scandal this week after allegations of child sex abuse arose surrounding Scotland's Roman Catholic Archbishop, Cardinal Keith O'Brien. The Observer, a British newspaper, reported Sunday that 4 men have come forward with allegations of sexual abuse that may have happened 30 years ago while the men were studying to become priests. The 4 men are accusing Cardinal Keith O'Brien of having inappropriate sexual relations with them in the 1980s. The resignation is adding to the Italian media speculation that sexual scandal within the Catholic Church also contributed to Pope Benedict XVI's decision to step down, although there is no proof of any connection. South Korea is making history today as that country inaugurated its first female president. Park Geun-hye, daughter of the former ruler Park Chung-hee, broke barriers in the patriarchal East Asian nation when she was elected last December. Winning 52% of the vote, she's vowed a softer approach to North Korea, hoping to build what she calls a zone of trust.
It's been 2 months now since the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. After the massacre, donations for the victims and survivors came in from around the world. Reporter Bo Berman shows us how these donations are helping to heal their emotional wounds.
Whether it's a race car or a pop star heartthrob.
Justin Bieber doll, obviously.
It's Christmas in February for the children of Sandy Hook in Newtown, lining up for a much-deserved grab bag of gifts laid out for the taking.
It's really special that we're here, that everyone donated these for us because of what happened.
What happened was unprecedented, as was the nation's response. Toys and presents by the truckload pouring into the community as outsiders did what they could to comfort those so close to tragedy.
It's not just a toy, it's, everyone in the world wanting to be a part of it, of the healing process.
These teddy bears are just a handful of the 60,000 that were sent into Newtown, and they're just a portion of the thousands of other gifts that were given out. In fact, this room makes up just 1/3 of everything that was mailed in from around the world.
We're thankful for everybody who's sent in items.
Joey Newton's 3 daughters were all smiles, their faces painted with joy. Other children reflected on the gesture from those outside their town.
It's pretty special that everyone gave this stuff to us. Just like for us to be happy. I think it's pretty cool that a lot of people donated all this stuff just for us and us to be happy and try to get over it.
Whether they left with crayons, books, or a coveted Justin Bieber doll, the desire among many that the children recognize the true meaning behind the donations.
I'm hoping that they understand and their parents explain to them where these came from so that they feel, the love that was sent to us.
The families directly affected by the tragedy had first pick of the donations. Some of the larger items like bicycles and rollerblades were auctioned off. The remaining gifts will be donated to local charities. Coming up after the break, and the Oscar goes to, we'll recap the big winners from last night's Academy Awards, plus see some of the big moments that have everyone talking.
And podcasts have taken the web by storm. We go behind the scenes of a podcast hosted right here in Montevallo. Those stories and more when Falcon Weekly returns.
Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. Sunday was Hollywood's biggest night of the year.
A galaxy of stars graced the red carpet for the 85th Academy Awards. Reporter Paul Verkaman shows us some of the night's most memorable moments.
On Hollywood's biggest night, even first-time Oscar host Seth MacFarlane seemed a bit starstruck.
You guys have made some beautiful, some inspiring movies. I made Ted.
To present the biggest award of the night, First Lady Michelle Obama made a live appearance from the White House.
And the Oscar goes to Argo.
The film set during the Iranian hostage crisis was also recognized for editing an adapted screenplay.
I thank everyone in the movie, on the movie, worked on the movie, did anything with this movie gets thanked. I want to thank Canada. I want to thank our friends in Iran.
Les Miserables also won 3 Oscars, including Best Supporting Actress Anne Hathaway.
It came true.
Adele performed Skyfall, which won for Best Song. Life of Pi took home 4 Oscars, the most of any film, including Best Director for Ang Lee.
Thank you, movie god.
Daniel Day-Lewis became the first person to win 3 times in the leading actor category this year for Lincoln.
Since we got married 16 years ago, my wife Rebecca has lived with some very strange men.
Twitter lit up after Jennifer Lawrence tripped over her dress on her way to accept the award for Best Actress in Silver Linings Playbook.
You guys are just standing up because you feel bad that I fell, and that's really embarrassing, but thank you.
Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained took home 2 Oscars for Original Screenplay and Supporting Actor Christoph Waltz. This year's batch of Best Picture nominees sort of unusual. Not really any art house films that few people saw. 7 of them made more than $100 million at the worldwide box office. I'm Paul Verkamen reporting from Hollywood.
Pixar snagged another Oscar for its Scottish-inspired film Brave, which took home the award for Best Animated Feature Film. The last installment of the Twilight series received a lot of press at the 33rd Annual Raspberry Awards this year. Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 had 11 nominations and received 7 Razzies, including Worst Picture. The Razzies act as an antidote to the Oscars by celebrating the worst in cinema every year. Winners are chosen by email ballots from members. Other winners from this year's Razzie Awards are Adam Sandler for Worst Actor in That's My Boy and Rihanna for Worst Supporting Actress in Battleship.
Having trouble keeping up with all the latest news about your favorite TV shows, movies, or comic books? Falcon Weekly's Andrew Hardy takes us behind the scenes of a podcast created by 2 Montevallo students that promises to keep you up to date on the entertainment world.
For all things from the nerdosphere, everything from comics to music to pop culture, Unrendered is glad to bring you all the news.
We started the podcast in April of 2012.
Well, me and Mike were just sitting around one night, and we were like, we're big fans of Kevin Smith and Chris Hardwick, and they both have podcasts. So we just figured, hey, let's try this out. Let's start a podcast. It'll be fun.
Every Thursday from this room, all of your geek humor and nerd news comes to you in an hour-long package.
Basically, our podcast is a quote-unquote nerd culture podcast. We cover everything from comic books, video games, to movies, to TV shows. Basically, it's entertainment for your geeky side, I suppose, with lots of comic books.
We've had some guests come on, like for instance, one of our biggest guests that we've had yet was Andrew WK, a huge musician. He was very kind, very nice, awesome dude. And we plan to have more guests come on to just come out and nerd with us, just talk about all kinds of nerd entertainment. And it's more of a laid-back setting where we just basically BS for an hour for just what's going on with that week.
For Falcon Weekly, I'm Andrew Hardy.
You can download Unrendered for free off of iTunes. Just search for the keyword Unrendered. Senior Day for the men's and women's basketball teams will be on March 2nd at Trustmark Arena. The women's team will be recognizing 4 seniors, including Trina Moore-Smith and Zena Nazolowski. The men's team will be recognizing 6 seniors, including Jeff Hefner, Danny Cummins. The women's game is at 1:30 and the men's game is at 3:30.
Danica Patrick makes history over the weekend. We'll tell you how later in sports.
Plus, your Montevallo forecast coming up after the break. Savannah Kidd joins us now in the studio for a look at weather.
What can Montevallo expect this week?
Well, today's weather is looking cloudy with periods of rainfall. The high is 57 and winds will be between 15 and 25 miles per hour. There's no prompter.
She needs the prompter. Change the prompter.
Tonight's weather, the low will be 49 and there'll be occasional rain and thunderstorms. And as for this week, the precipitation will go down. It'll be 20% by Monday, and by Wednesday it'll be at 0% with a high of 58. And by Saturday and Sunday, it should go down to 47 and 49 with 10% chance of rain and then 0% for it to be sunny on Sunday.
Thanks, Savannah. Stefan Vaziri joins us now in the studio for a look at sports.
It's been a busy week in sports.
Yes, it has. I'll have your latest Montevallo sports plus more coming up after the break. Her first full year in the NASCAR Sprint Cup, not only finished in the top 10, but is the first woman to start in pole position and to lead a lap. The excitement of the Daytona 500, however, was preceded by a terrifying accident that occurred right before the end of the Nationwide Series race in Daytona on Saturday. Kyle Larson's car was flung into the fencing of the home stretch on the Daytona International Speedway, injuring 28 fans in the process. Of the 28 injured, 14 were taken to the hospitals for medical attention, and 2 were left in critical condition. Crews had to work quickly to repair the fence in time for Sunday's big race. The Montevallo men's and women's basketball teams were successful in securing points this weekend as they went on the road against Georgia College. The men outlisted their opponent, winning 66-52, while the women won 50-43. The Falcons returned to action Saturday with its final regular season game, where they faced Peach Belt Conference newcomer Young Harris. Also in action this weekend was the Montevallo baseball team, who swept UNC Pembroke in a 3-game series. The Falcons came from behind in both games to win 6-5 and 7-6, after losing the first game in the series 6-2. The Falcons faced non-conference opponent Trevecca Nazarene University on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Montevallo's tennis team also had success this weekend as they swept the University of West Georgia and host Clark Atlanta University in a pair of matches. Come out this weekend as the Falcons host Augusta State and Georgia College in a PBC matchup. That's all for sports this week. Be sure to tune in to Falcon Fever every Wednesday to keep up with everything Montevallo athletics. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Stefan. Finally today, cheerleaders don't get a lot of attention for their athletic skill.
But one cheerleader wanted to show off one amazing trick shot. Check it out. This William Carey cheerleader practiced for a month to make this acrobatic half-court shot.
After all that practice, she showed off her skills during the team's final home game of the season. And as you can see, it was nothing but net.
Thanks again for joining us. Be sure to tune in again next time.